Hey folks, Adventures in Game Chasing, aka the Game Chasers movie, is finally out digitally for backers. I wanted to give you my impressions on how that experience went.
Hey, kid. Yeah, you. Everyone thinks toys are fun, but this is a channel for adults. Yeah, I said it. If you're under the age of 18, go get your parents before you come in here. If you're under the age of 13, scram! Let's get on with the show.
Before we go any further into this video, I want to make it very clear this is not a review. This is just me sharing my thoughts on the release, how I felt about the film, and the reason it's not a review is very simple. I'm part of the supporting cast. I play the part of Roy in the film, and I play a somewhat significant supporting role in the film. So it wouldn't be fair for me to judge the film completely. So you're not going to get that. It was 3 years ago when I was still living in the Houston area of Texas that I became a little bit more involved with the Game Chasers initiative to get their own movie off the ground. And what I mean by that is I saw the Kickstarter, I paid my way just like anybody else, and I saw that when the funding had occurred and there was time left, there were a lot of stretch goals that I felt would really enhance the movie. In other words, far from just getting a bare bones movie, there were other things that they wanted to do. And I felt like a lot of the fan base didn't quite understand what a stretch goal was, how it would affect the quality of the film. So I put a video up on the channel talking about these things and explaining how if you could add just an extra, if everyone just added an extra dollar, how much closer we would be to a lot of those goals and hopefully a better film. Again, I didn't know the Game Chasers at the time. I didn't ask them about this. This was just a fan putting this video out. I didn't even tag them in it on social media. I wasn't trying to get clout. I just wanted to help if I could if someone came across the video. That's it. Well, because these guys really do their homework and they're pretty meticulous about this sort of thing, they found the video, they tweeted it out, and it got a lot of traction relative to the size of my channel. I became friends with some of the guys. I became more involved in their live streams, like being a moderator, stuff like that. We got to know each other a little bit, and that was great. But you got to fast forward a few months. By this point, Redneck Chris and I became pretty good friends, albeit over, text, things like that. And he's just kind of a broken record. You got to move up here. You got to move up here. And ultimately, an opportunity arose. I said, hey, yeah, I'll move up there. Moved to Dallas. And that very same week happened to be Retropalooza Arlington 2019. I end up going to the after party on that Saturday. I meet both Billy and Jay, and they both kind of regarded me in a quizzical way. And it wasn't disrespectful or anything, but they just kind of went, huh. I didn't think anything of it. A few days later, I get a message from Jay that says, hey, man, we're doing this movie audition thing. There might be a part in it for you. Would you like to come? Sure. I get there. It's nice and casual. I wasn't really nervous or anything. Watched a few other people audition for the part I ended up with, which is Roy. And I didn't quite like their take on the character. I already found myself being a little protective of this guy. I'm not a classically trained actor. I did a little bit in high school. I was in one independent horror movie, years and years ago. And yeah, I've done some other stuff on YouTube, but I wouldn't call any of that acting. I am a performer, and I'm also a movie buff. So I know it sounds pretentious of me to say, like, well, I was protecting the character. It's just how I felt. I'm not trying to do some weird theatrical thing. But I felt like there was something else that was on the page that these other people weren't reading. So I made it a point to ask. I said, hey, man, what's the context here? Where's the character at this point in the film? Because I can hear these lines about 3 or 4 different ways. And he said, well, try them. So I did. And next thing I know, I've got the part, and barely 10 days later, I'm on the set of the film. Principal photography took about 3 weeks. Um, I saw an assembly cut of what was there in January of 2020, just before the pandemic had hit. And we did a little bit of pickup shots in 2020. I did more in 2021. So when you think about it, there was about 2 years of shooting on and off, obviously. Some ADR stuff, things like that. And during the vast majority of that time, I had the same haircut. I was really meticulous about it. And when I got the go ahead, I let the hair grow. I've got the ponytail now. It's totally different. And fast forward to January of this year, 2022, the premiere comes out. I see the movie in its completed form, the final completed form for the first time. It was overwhelming. People that were there seemed to really enjoy the film, and I did. So that was like, okay, whew, we don't have a turd on our hands. And I never thought that we did. I always felt that the movie was special in its own right. And the question had become, would we be able to translate that special feeling we had when making it on screen to someone who wasn't as invested? Because anytime you're creating any sort of art or passion project, you're close to it, so you can't really be objective most of the time. And that's been part of the experience. And I say all of this to let you know that I didn't just walk onto set for 3 days, film a couple things, and then waited like everybody else to see the movie. I was involved in some small capacity throughout, little tidbits here and there. And every time I saw a little bit more of the film or I saw a different idea coming, I was like, oh. And it was really fulfilling to see people enjoying the film. Granted, these are people that paid a little extra for that opportunity. So, of course, that combined with friends and family being there, yeah, you're going to get a little bit of an inflated opinion. And again, with this current release, this is for the Kickstarter backers. So as I was saying to Jay just yesterday, we're still technically in pre-release here. Because this is not a public release yet. This is just a digital release for the backers of the film on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. If you pre-ordered before the release date, you got a digital copy for free, and your Blu-ray will be coming sometime midsummer, so to speak, within a few months anyway. And then when you have that, anyone can buy a Blu-ray even now. You're pre-ordering. So I guess for me, the Blu-ray release is as close to the initial public releases we're going to get. And then hopefully by end of the year, we've got to deal with a more mainstream streaming service and digital sales can resume at that time. No news on that front, but I just want to be clear that people are going to ask, where can I see it? Well, find someone you know that has a digital copy, see if they'll let you watch it with them. That's the only advice that I can offer until the Blu-rays are manufactured and or a digital distribution deal is signed outside of the private stuff. So, sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but I just want to be clear about that moving forward. So, that creates an odd feeling for me as well, in as much as it's out, but it's not really out. I sat down and it was surreal to watch a film that I helped make at home. Like because I watch so many films sitting at this desk, and to watch a film that I'm in and help make at this desk was a surreal experience. I experienced emotions watching it that I didn't when I saw it at the premiere, because the premiere, you're surrounded with people. It's a different experience, the whole thing. You're more in tune with what the audience is doing than what the movie is doing. And I got to really dig into the movie completely devoid of any outside influence. And I really enjoyed it. Certainly, I was looking at my parts to see what edits had been made and what takes they went with and things like that. I mean, come on. I'm a human. I'm flawed. Yes, I want to see myself on screen. But the rest of the movie, for me, was very entertaining, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen. Okay, I watched it twice in a row because the first time was just like get it out of your system, break the seal. The second one, I just watched it completely. I just want to watch it as a movie and try to detach myself from it, and I enjoyed it even more. And I noticed things on the second viewing that I hadn't seen on the first, which I hadn't seen stuff from the premiere. And you see what I'm saying? This movie is a road trip film. It's a comedy that doesn't take itself seriously, at least not very seriously. And it kind of begs you to watch it more than once, which is very nostalgic, very 80s, very 90s of it. And I think that it has that tone, it has that quality because of what Billy has done and what, Jay's support of Billy has done, and everyone contributing what they can has done. I shouldn't neglect to mention Yoshi Vu's effects. We had excellent cinematography from Peter Calvin. Peter. And the movie would have been great if all we had was practical. But when we did have digital, between what Yoshi had done, which was mind-blowing and top-shelf stuff, and some of the touch-up work that Billy did in the edit, sound design, and really good ADR, and sound cleanup, and some initial mixing kind of stuff with like Rob and a few other people. Just every little piece brings it full circle. And Martin's score for the film is eons beyond what we should have had for that film. It's a really, really ambitious score. It sounds great. It actually works with the film. It's not like music that just is laid on top. He really scored it in the old style, but with this whimsical kind of new vibe to it. Lots of woodwinds, which I really liked. Good choice of percussion. And then you have Joe Redifer from GameSack doing the final sound mix. And seeing it in the theater was amazing. And listening to it on my speakers and on my headphones, the soundscapes that I'm familiar with, I was very impressed. I can't wait to bust out my home theater system and put the 7.1 from the Blu-ray on, because he did a really stellar job on it. And I say this both as a participant, as a friend, and as a viewer as well, because you have to be able to step back from something. And again, I didn't do anywhere near as much as these guys did. I just got in front of the camera and did some pratfalls, basically. Okay, so to be able to watch the movie as objectively as I possibly can, I enjoyed it. It was good. Then I go looking on the Vimeo page at the reviews. I look at the IMDb reviews. I look on Twitter. And I was ready, fully prepared to hear just this endless onslaught of, I paid my money for what? This is horrible. I expected it to get slagged. Not because it's a bad film. I think it's a great film. But you know how people are on the internet, especially when they've had to wait for something for 3 years from the time that they did the Kickstarter. It was an amazing landfall of positivity, with very few exceptions. On IMDb, people are rating it, anywhere from a 10 to a 1. We're getting everything up and down the gamut. But the vast majority are higher up. Last I checked, we were somewhere in the 8.5s out of like 70, 80, 90 ratings, which that's not a lot of ratings, but relative to what we had before it was released, I mean, it's a lot of ratings. And for you to average that 8.5 at this stage is encouraging. And all of the comments on those reviews, largely positive. Granted, there's a few people that are just going to throw ones at it, even if they haven't seen it, because they don't like the initiative or they don't like the fact that it was kickstarted or whatever, and you're going to have that. But even with that thing happening, we still got that 8.5, and I'm pretty proud of that. Over on Vudu, we're well over 3,000 views on the film, and the reviews on there just keep growing. And generally speaking, get better and better. There's only been like 1 or 2 negative reviews at all. Everything else is either constructive criticism or positive. And Do I think it's a 10 out of 10? No. 7 or 8 out of 10. I personally rated it an 8 out of 10 because of the quality of the filmmaking that was inherent. I think the quality of the craft was there. The acting wasn't necessarily there, and I count myself in that. But we always said that if the worst thing about this movie was the acting, then job well done for us because none of us are professional actors. Would I like to do more acting? Sure. But I'm not trained. Billy and Jay aren't trained. Eric isn't trained. Chief isn't trained. We're just went in there doing what we do. But the rest of my castmates, including Game Dave, knocked it out of the park. Dave had the most acting experience, and it shows. And he really walked all over the scenes with his character. Really good job. And we did have some trained actors on the project, and they did excellent work. And I think really inhabited their characters and enhanced the overall tone of the film, which again is this is a road trip, buddy comedy, silly adventure. It's not Shakespeare. We were having fun. And I think all of that translated onto the film. And to see people writing reviews, whether it be on Twitter or IMDb or the actual listing page or anywhere else you can find it, even on YouTube here, there's a few reviews that are out. To see people recognizing that, like to totally see the film for what it is and recognize what we were going for is really satisfying. I am so happy that people got what was intended, even though that probably was not the film they were expecting. And that's one of the things I hear the most. Not at all what I expected. It's way better. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are some other movies that have been made by YouTubers across the board, not just video gaming channels or whatever, but lots of YouTube channels have attempted to or have created films with varying degrees of success depending upon who you talk to. This one is no different, except that so far the reception's been very positive. And the other thing you hear a lot of is they're like, it looks like a real movie. I'm like, that's because it is. We had a shoestring budget, but we put our money and our hearts into what we had. And so I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the feedback. And I know that it's only going to, keep growing in one direction or the other as time goes on. I think that this has some legs. So when you do see a public, wide release, first on Blu-ray and then later on digital for the masses, it's my hope that word of mouth will spread this, because not necessarily because of the success I want the movie to have as a venture, but I do want to see the film get in front of as many people as possible because it's the kind of movie I think we need these days. I think we need fun movies again that aren't brooding and dark and hateful and depressing. This is a movie that has a hard PG rating. There's some toilet humor in it, and that's about it. The hardest word you're going to hear in here is ass, and they're usually referring to an actual butt when they say it. Aside from that, this is a film you could take most kids to. You could show to your parents or your grandparents and be perfectly fine. This is a film that's meant to be shared with other people, to get watched more than once and enjoy it. It's meant to be comfort food, and it is my sincere hope that it becomes that for many people. And to be able to contribute to that was a blessing, and I could not be prouder of all of my colleagues' efforts to make that happen, especially Billy and especially Jay and Eric and Robbie and Chief and Dave and going down the list. I Leon, everybody. Like, there's a long list of people that put their heart and souls into this to make it what it was, and I've left out a significant portion of the crew when I am making this list right now, because no matter how hard I try, I'm going to miss somebody. So I don't care if you cooked the food, made the coffee, ran the sound, ran the lights, uh, did the slate, ran the camera, told us to shut up and go do our jobs, signed a check, towed the car, costumes, makeup, everything. Everyone stepped up and did everything in their power to make this a quality production, and apparently the fans think so too. This week has been overwhelming. I've watched the film a few times with some folks and alone, and I'm very, very happy. My heart is full. And I'm sure this is not the last time I'll talk about the movie, but I wanted to give you my thoughts while they're relatively fresh in my head. So if you haven't seen the film and you don't have access to it, reach out to someone you know that does. See if they'll, come over and let you watch it. Or you can go over to their place and watch it. Otherwise, you can pre-order the Blu-ray. If you just search Indiegogo for Game Chasers movie, you can still pre-order a Blu-ray. And when they're printed, you'll get them at the same time as everybody else. And for your faith, I think you will be rewarded handsomely because this film really is a passion project. I want to take this last opportunity to thank everyone involved with making the film, from the crew to the cast and everybody in between, friends and family of everyone involved. Thank you for allowing me to help contribute in being a part of this family. I love you. To the fans and backers that physically made this happen with your support, your energy, and frankly, your money, I cannot say thank you enough. Your support throughout the last 3 years and currently and beyond means everything. Don't stop. It is so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To everyone else, I hope you get a chance to see the movie. I hope I've sold you on it a little bit, frankly. And when that time comes, let me know what you think below. In the meantime, may all your grinds be merry, may all your card backs be straight, and may you find anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable. Take care, and thank you. Cheers. Special thanks to our patrons and members who you're seeing on the screen now. Thank you so much for your support. It really helps.